in the opposite direction of the gravitational force. This is an example of negative gravitropism. Positive thegonotropism, which plants that grow next to buildings, they have, so negative gravitropism, roots that go the opposite of gravitational force. So in most ecosystems, net primary productivity is important because it represents the energy available for producers, total solar energy, biomass, heterotroph. GPP, the gross production, NPP is the net. So the net is the energy left over, which is going to be available for producers. Hawk moths are insects that are similar in appearance and behavior to hummingbirds. Which of the following is least valid? These organisms are example of convergent evolution. These organisms were subjected to similar environmental conditions. These organisms are genetically related to each other. These have analogous structures. Related, when we talk about hummingbirds and insects, they are definitely not related. Oh, so they are for the least, okay, least valid. They are saying least valid. So these organisms are genetically related. They are not related. When we talk about insects and birds, they are far away from each other. 35. Which of the following describes a symbiotic relationship? Tapeworm feeds off the host nutrients, causing the host to lose large amount of weight. No. Certain plants grow in trees in order to gain access to sunlight. No, not affecting. This is not. Remora fish eat parasites of the shark. The sharks stay free of parasites, and they yes, C. Both benefits. But let's go to the one before. Certain plants grows, what do you call this? Plus and zero, meaning one benefit, the other one is not affected nor harmed. Okay? Commensalism. B is commensalism. But destruction of all beta cells in the pancreas will cause which of the following to occur? Beta cells, produce insulin, but glucagon comes from alpha. So alpha cells produce glucagon, beta cells produces insulin. If we destroy beta cells, definitely it's going to affect insulin. Insulin, so the answer is secretion will stop and blood glucose level will increase. All the following are simulated by the sympathetic nervous system except sympathetic, where fight or flight. Dilation pupil, yes, you need to see well because you are fighting. Constriction blood vessels, to increase blood pressure, okay. Increase secretion, sweating glands, okay. Increase peristalsis, no. When you are in a fight or flight, we don't care about your stomach or digestive system. The Calypso orchid, Calypso bulbosagrows in a close association with the mycorrhizae fungi. The fungi penetrate the roots and flowers, take advantage of plants. The fungi concentrate minerals such as phosphates in the roots and make them readily accessible to a child. Easy. All this for just in mutualistic relationship. Which of the following are characteristics of both bacteria and fungi? Fungi have cell wall, bacteria have cell wall, DNA, plasma membrane, nucleus, no. Bacteria don't have nucleus, don't have plasma membrane. Golgi, no. Mitochondria, no. So bacteria, they do have cell wall, the DNA, plasma membrane. Remember, all cells have to have three things. The minimum things for cells to be called cells. They have to have cell membrane, cytoplasm, and genetic material. Not nucleus. We start with genetic material, but this is the minimum for a cell to be called a cell. So cell wall, DNA, and plasma membrane. A sustained decrease in circulating calcium ions level might be caused by decreased level of which of the following. By the way, parathyroid, which is next to the thyroid in your neck, has something to do with it. And calcitonin from the thyroid also has to do with it. But the main one responsible for the calcium ions, the parathyroid. Okay. Now, if the parathyroid produce, raising the calcium ions too much, the thyroid hormones, the thyroid gland will interfere and produce calcitonin to bring it down. But number one responsible for is the parathyroid. The synthesis of new protein necessary for lactose utilized by bacterium E. coli using the operon is regulated at the sensitive addition of the ribosome. And this is an easy question. Just they are telling you that it happens at the transcription stage. Of course, the answer is B. They happen at the transcription. Which of the following statement about trypsin is not true? It's an organic compound made of protein. Okay. Catalyst that alters the rate of reaction. Okay. It's a wide range of pH. No, trypsin works in a produced by the pancreas, work in the small intestine. The pH there is around 7, 8. But when you talk about wide pH range, means like it can work at pH 2. No, it doesn't work at pH 2, so it's not. Remember, they said not true. In DNA replication, which of the following doesn't occur? Helicase, unwind, double. That's true. It happens. DNA ligase, okay. The superglue is ligase. RNA polymerase. Okay, no RNA polymerase in, we have DNA polymerase. When we are making DNA from DNA, we use DNA polymerase, not RNA polymerase. RNA polymerase used when we do protein synthesis. DNA strands grows in a 5' to 3'. Yeah, that's true. A change in the neural membrane potential from plus 50 millivolt to minus 70 millivolt considered. This is a tough question. Going, after we finish the active potential, we're going down from action potential to resting potential again. This is called repolarization. Now, if the question said from negative 70 millivolt to positive 50 millivolt, that is depolarization. But it's the opposite. We are going from plus 50 to minus 70, so repolarization is the answer. Meaning it's just we are going back to resting potential again. The energy given up by electrons as they move through the electron transport chain is used to produce ATP. If a photosynthesizing plant began to release 18O2, which is mean oxygen 18, which is radioactive isotopes, we have radioactive oxygen instead of normal oxygen, one could most reasonably conclude that the plant had been supplied with. This is actually an experiment we do at a fourth year college when we study biology at the University of Illinois, Chicago, to make sure, because scientists always has a dilemma. Plants release oxygen. This oxygen released by plants, is it coming from H2O or is it coming from CO2? CO2 has oxygen and H2O has oxygen. Of course, they concluded that with radioactive isotopes that it comes from H2O containing radioactive. So the oxygen released by plants, it's coming from water. All the following statements describe the unique characteristics of water, except it's polar solvent, yes. It forms hydrogen bonds with saccharide, yes. It can dissolve into hydrogen ions and hydroxide, yes. It's a hydrophobic. This, and again, they call it hydrophobic. Well, no, it's not hydrophobic, it's hydrophilic. Chemical substance released by organisms that elicit physiological or behavioral response in other members of the same species, known as, many students said hormones. No, it's not hormones. Hormones within your own body, yes. But now let's see what they're talking about. They can response in other members of same species. Pheromones. These are attractants. Attracting mates. Pheromones. Now they use them in many perfumes where they attract the opposite partner or excite the opposite partner sexually. So they are pheromones. Homologous structures are often cited as evidence for the process of natural selection. All the following example homologous, except a wing of a bird and the wing of a bat, the flippers of a whale and the arm of a man, homologous, the pectoral fins of a porpoise and flippers of a seal, the four legs of an insect and forms of a dog. Of course, this question has two probabilities. A could be one of them, but the strongest one is D, the four legs of an insect and the four limbs of a dog. They did not come from same origin, because homologous, they came from same origin, but they have different function now. But these did not come from same origin. Sliding action in the myofibril skeletal muscle contraction requires which of the following? Calcium ions, yes. ATP, yes. Actin, yes. Actually, they need not only actin, they need actin and myosin and ATP and calcium ions. Calcium ions initiate the whole process of sliding mechanism. Calcium ions will be stored in a sarcoplasmic endoplasmic reticulum, just like the endoplasmic reticulum in normal cells, which is smooth ER and rough ER. Muscle cells, they have sarcoplasmic reticulum, okay, which is the same thing as ER, and in them calcium ions are stored. They just come out and initiate the whole process. So all the above. D, the answer is D. Certain populations of finches have long been isolated on the Galapagos Island of the western coast of South America. Compared with the larger stock population of mainland finches, these separate populations exhibit far greater variation over a wider range of species. The variation among these numerous finch species is the result of, because they used to be in this, same, then they separated. Remember the word, look for keywords, separate, they separate, meaning, they are diverge. When the road diverge, if you are on a highway and the highway will split, they will give you a sign, say the highway will diverge. So it's divergent evolution. Which of the following contributes the most to genetic variability in a population? Sporulation, this is asexual, binary fission, asexual, vegetative, asexual, mutation. Okay. What's vegetative propagation? Bring a branch of a tree, you found somewhere, and you plant it, and it will give you a whole tree. This is vegetative propagation. Binary fission in bacteria, sporulation producing spores. So mutation is the answer. Question for the following. Marine ecosystem was sampled in order to determine its food chain. The result of the study has shown type of number sharks, 2 sharks, small crustaceans 400, mackerel 20, phytoplankton 1,000, herring 100. Which of the following organism in this population secondary consumers? Okay, let's do the producers. Phytoplankton is the producers because they have the largest, 1,000. What eats phytoplankton is small crustaceans like shrimp. The number 400, so small crustaceans primary consumers. Then after 400 we have 100, so herring, which is small fish, so asking for secondary, so the answer is herring. Which of the following organism has the largest biomass? Definitely the largest biomass is the phytoplankton. Largest biomass in the food chain. If the herring population is reduced by predation, which of the following is most likely to occur in this aquatic? The mackerel will be largest. So let's go up and see. Reduced herring. Okay. So the herring is reduced, meaning the small crustaceans will increase. If the small crustaceans will increase, phytoplankton will decrease. Let me see if this is one of the options. The mackerel will be large, no. Small crustacean population will be greatly reduced, no. Phytoplankton population will be reduced over the next year, yes. Small crustacean, no. Yes, this is. To understand the workings of neurons, an experiment was conducted to study the neural pathway of a reflex arc. A diagram of a reflex arc is given below. Which of the following responds the correct pathway taken by a nerve impulse as it travels from spinal cord to effectors? Remember, they're asking for effectors, reach the effector, because 1, 2, 3, 4, going through sequence, but it's not reaching the effector. So 1, 2, 3, 4, yes, but it's not the answer. Let's do 6, 5, 4, 3. 6, 5, no, it's not the sequence. It's not B. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5 is an option. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Could be, the last two, but the answer is C. I hope I did not mess up on this one. The brain of a frog is destroyed. A piece of acid-soaked paper is applied to the frog's skins. Every time the piece of paper is placed on its skin, one leg moves upward. Which of the following conclusion is best supported by the experiment? Reflex action are not automatic. Okay, they are automatic. Some reflex action can inhibit and facilitate all behavior in frogs are primary reflex. This reflex action bypass the brain. Remember, the arch or the reflex action, it's in the spinal cord, it's not in the brain. After from the first one, which is from skin to the spinal cord, then the interconnected neurons, then the effectors, the muscles. Yes, the message will be recorded in your brain, but the brain, it's not the one responsible for the reflex arch, it's the spinal cord. Why? Because we need to save time, and save a fraction of a second, so it happens in the spinal cord. Nerve impulse requires the release of neurotransmitter at axonal pulp of a presynaptic neurons. Which of the following best explain the purpose of neurotransmitters such as acetylcholine? They speed up the nerve conduction. No, what speed up nerve conduction is the myelin sheath wrapping up the axon. They open the sodium channels in the axon. They don't open. That happens after. They excite or inhibit the postsynaptic neurons. Yeah, that's true. So they excite. After the excitement, yes, a cascade mechanism of permeability of the axonal membrane will happen, but their job is to from presynaptic cliff to postsynaptic cliff, and that's it. Let's do question 59 to 61, the first following information. I'm gonna do these two questions now. Let's start with AUG, MET, then CCA, proline, First question. Which of the following DNA strands would serve as a template for an amino acid sequence shown above? So we're going backwards. We're going to find the DNA for this particular RNA. So this is the RNA. Which is the RNA, messenger RNA is AUG. So going back to, should start with T, AC, TAC. That's it. The answer is, the only one that starts with T is the third options, because option number 1, A, T, no. B, A, U, no. C, T, A, yes. That's it, easy. You don't have to read the entire code. Just the first one will tell you that TA is the DNA that gives rise to messenger RNA AUG, because T will, the codon A, will complementary to T. If a mutation occurs in the which uracil is deleted from messenger RNA after methionine is translated, which of the following represent the resulting? Good question, requires lots of thinking. After methionine, which means they said in uracil after methionine. They said after methionine. So we need, okay, open. How long is that thing? After methionine, the U after methionine is, if you look above leucine, this is the first U after methionine. So they are saying that this is where we're going to have a frame shift. So methionine will be normal, proline will be normal. Everything after this one will have a change. The answer should be serine, it's not even included, methionine, proline, glutamate, histidine, methionine, proline, leucine, alanine, arginine, methionine, proline, alanine. So anything is gonna have a frame shift that's not gonna match with the above, because we have the original is methionine, proline, leucine, alanine, arginine. Okay, leucine, alanine, arginine, leucine, arginine, arginine. So it cannot be C because C maintained the original one. And remember, we have a frame shift, which is going to change everything. Alanine, arginine. So the answer, glutamate, histidine. Okay, this is the answer. The mRNA above was found to be much smaller than the original mRNA synthesized in nucleus. This is due to addition excision of electron. Okay. For A, we add poly A, that's true, but this doesn't make it shorter. We add cap mRNA, okay. We don't cut the exons, we cut the introns. The introns are the junk genes. So we cut the introns, which are the junk genes, but we keep the exons.